G'day and welcome to The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite pocket-sized gaming podcast. It's Monday the 29th of August. I'm not Nick Richardson, I'm Gus Ronald, and I'm joined by two very snappily dressed boys today. I think we're all a little dressed up because it's a special one. But I'm joined first of all by Peter Burns.
Hello.
Looking bright and colourful, and law curator of Destiny's Grimoire Anthology Volumes 1, 2, and 3, and washed-up Destiny YouTuber. It's Mylan, a.k.a. Matt.
That's a very accurate description.
I took it from your Twitch profile, mate.
It's your description.
You wrote it.
Yes, g'day. Thanks for having me on.
Not at all, Matt.
Pleasure to have you.
Thanks for joining us, mate. Welcome to The Back Podcast. We've worked with you before, but you haven't had you on the podcast before. You are actually one of the few people who have their own pockety. You have your own version of the mascot that I drew for you, but you were far more bearded when I did it. So you are down for a spectacular-looking tash.
Well, yes. I did lose the beard in the charity fundraiser, and then sort of like, you know what? The Mo's not bad. Put on an 80 shirt. Here we go.
Yep.
So the shirt just comes with it now. It's like ever since the tash is up, it's like
pretty much, because like the beard looks way too hard for the shirt. But they're like, the Mo's a bit playful. We can go bit colour now. Yeah.
You have to be the fun guy at parties now. It turns up a little bit sourced every time.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, if I ever left my office and stopped playing Destiny, might get out there.
Good. Hey, what's your excuse for wearing that shirt?
Well, I tuned into Mylan this morning and saw how loud his shirt was, and I was like, well, if I'm wearing, because I'm wearing, like, I brought in today just like a really like neutral, earthy green jumper, and I was like, I'm gonna no one's gonna see me next to Mylan, so I found the loudest shirt in the room.
I mean, we could just say it's Lightfall vibes. You know, this is the synth wave.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
Yeah, that's true. We're dressing the part. I feel bad that I ran into my closet and the only thing I had was this, which has tiny little cocktails on it. So it's my fun party shirt, but I'm outdone on both sides. So I'm out-partied by both.
Party hardy.
Well,
that's true.
We mentioned a few Destiny references there, but Matt, or Mylan, as you're referred to on the internet, for anyone who doesn't know what it is that you do on the internet, care to tell us what it is you do?
Yes, on the internet. I started a YouTube channel when Destiny first came out, 2014. Made 100 videos and eventually went nowhere. And eventually made a lore video about Oryx that popped off. And since then, I've been making Destiny lore videos.
So you've kind of
riding that train.
You've kind of come full circle. We're back to killing Oryx.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing.
Took, 8 years to get here. So I've got a YouTube channel that covers Destiny lore. Trying to sneak in a little bit more variety on there shortly. And I stream over on Twitch as well. Destiny when the season's up, and then a bit of whatever when it's not.
Yeah, lovely. Well, as I said, we tapped into some of your
Grimoire
knowledge.
Anthology. I did volumes 1, 2, 3, curated the Grimoire Anthology with Bungie when they first started them. So they basically said, hey, we got all that lore. Do you want to work out how to put it in a book? And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool.
Well, I wanted to ask because, we tapped into some of your knowledge when we did the previous Destiny showcase, as a watch party, and we for Witch Queen, thanks, Pete, and grabbed a bit of your information and knowledge for some of the larger sort of lore-based stuff. What's involved in curating something? If you're like, how did that go about in terms of them giving you the information for you to then? What did you do? Like, sort of go through and do it.
How the fuck did you find the lore in Destiny? Where was it?
Well, look, I don't like telling my secrets because it's easier than you think. There's a great website called Ishtar Collective that actually has releases all of the lore, so you don't necessarily have to get it in game. You can go and read it on your phone or on your computer without logging into Destiny, and there's got searches in there so you can search for everything you need. But I actually used their database in the end for it. It was remember when Destiny 2 launched and it was in a bit of trouble and the player base was leaving, and they had the very first summit. They had the content creator summit, and they invited a bunch of people to go out to Bungie HQ. I was sort of in that group of people, and I ended up meeting Christopher Barrett, one of the directors, and I ended up meeting with some of the narrative leads. And because they also removed the Grimoire cards at that point, that was when there was there was no Grimoire you could unlock. The only lore was like scannables in game. So I took a big report to them about what the lore community might want to see in Destiny, and I had some meetings.
Dropped it on their desk, and you're like, "Damn it, guys, come on, get your shit together."
Yeah, I did a qualitative survey. I had like 5,000 people complete this survey, and I put a bunch of data together on like themes of what people would want to see in the story and what makes it good and what makes it not so good. Which they obviously enjoyed, and then I actually got a call a little bit later. Said, "Hey, we've been thinking about a Destiny Grimoire anthology, and you seem to know a bit about the lore. Do you want to curate it?" Which
because no one else here in Bungie knows what's happening. You're the only one, Matt.
That's what they've done. They're like, hands
Matt.
off the wheel. Let's just give it to Matt.
Well, I know you sort of say that as a joke, and Bungie had been through some pretty rough times, and they had sort of cycled through some of their like narrative team as well. It's not that there wasn't people that knew what was happening, but they're also just flat out as well. Yeah. And also, you know, you have people change over that have a lot to catch up on. And I think if you're selling like a book to the community, having someone that's like myself that had a bit of knowledge about it and sort of been there since day one and with continuity definitely helps. And it was literally what we've already written, just work out what would make sense as a book series. So I just gave each book sort of a theme, and obviously like book one starts with the Books of Sorrow, which is about Oryx and the Hive, and I think it's one of the most classic stories in Destiny that gets people hooked on the lore. And you know, I themed it around whether we're just as bad as the Hive. That was like the whole theme I made for that book. And so you have the Books of Sorrow, you have Shin Malphur, and you have the Dredge and Yours, and you have and it ends with Touch of Malice, which is like,
are we nodding? Like,
Dredge and Morse.
I do love that. I love that you brought it back to the whole idea of all the like Guardians on the Moon being like, maybe we are the monsters after all. It's essentially that classic tale.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's why book one's called like Dark Mirror, because the Hive very much reflect Guardians in a lot of ways, and so I just looked at presenting each book on a certain theme, and basically found lore entries that would go into that theme and sent it to Bungie to see if they like it, and that's how the volumes came about.
Amazing.
1, 2, and 3 anyway. Yeah.
Do you think I think that your work has had an impact on Bungie's narrative work going forward? It's because it's official, right? That's canon now. That's like the basis for the kind of the development of new concepts. What I'm saying is the Witch Queen doesn't exist without Matt.
I don't know if I get that far, but
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, it did get back in there, right? Because there was a time where it didn't exist, because it wasn't when they took the Grimoire out. I think that was one of the other objectives, was the anthology, was you couldn't officially find the Grimoire anymore. It like wasn't on the website. So the anthologies sort of brought that back into like, this is the lore. And that was sort of part of the challenge with it, because I basically reread every lore entry to think about whether it was important to go in the anthology or not. And if it was important to go in there, where it would go.
Yeah.
And that's, that was a pain in the ass. I'll tell you that right now. Because there's some Grimoire anthologies like a shock dagger of a dreg.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, okay, is a shock dagger of a dreg important to go in the anthology? And it's like, well, it's not really. It's not like some of the Blizzard stuff is, you know, an encyclopedia. It's not an encyclopedia.
Yeah, right.
So it doesn't have value there. But does it talk about how like the Dreg's lore and how important it is for them to
what god
climb
it
the ladder of
feared
the
as it was stabbed with its own dagger?
You know, so maybe it should go in there. So they were the sort of decisions I had to make as I reread some of the lore and think about how it would contribute to an anthology or not, and decide whether it's interesting enough to be in there or important enough to be in there.
Well, I think we can officially say you saved Destiny. And we shouldn't talk about Destiny anymore until we get to the news.
I'm happy not to talk about it anymore for the whole podcast, because if that's all right, guys. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens as we kick into the news, because it's not going to break itself.
You're right. I got that mixed around the wrong way. The backup is presented by Top Tips patrons. The best evil person we know, damage check on War Priest. Peter, I'll let you explain that.
It doesn't need explaining.
Doesn't it? It's that clear.
Yep.
Okay, fair enough. No, of course we don't mean that, because that makes no sense whatsoever. We, of course, mean Evil Spyboy. Get your exclamation mark Spyboys out in the chat, because thanks to his generous patron support, Evil Spyboy is bringing you the backup, and he hopes you bring the generosity of the Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provides regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students at schools around the country, and on top of this, more than 200,000 children seek food relief from their charities every month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. Nightbot, do your thing. Or head to tasteofmultifish.com for more info on his proclivities, or whatever it is that Nick says everywhere.
Proclivities.
Proclivities is the word. All right, let's back up and check out the biggest stories of this week as voted by us, the host of the backup. And let's start, obviously, with Matt as our guest. Matt, can you tell us what story or what bit of video game information came out in the last 7 days that made you back up and say, whoa, that's a pretty big story and pretty important to me?
Have you ever wanted Cyberpunk in Destiny? The Lightfall showcase this week, which just had an extraordinary amount of information and mind-blowing stuff about Destiny and the future of Destiny. I've got lots of notes we can talk through, lots of lore to talk through, so it depends on how deep you want to dive, but Lightfall is going to Neptune, new planet, new place, completely different environment from anything we've seen in Destiny.
So how shit are humanity's scanners that they couldn't find another sect of humanity on a planet in our own system?
Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. Huh? How did we not know a whole?
How did I miss that?
I'm thinking there will be a reason in the law. I don't know how overt it will be.
You're going to have to make it make sense at some point. It's on you.
Well, we did get a hint at the end of Witch Queen.
Yeah. Okay.
So end of Witch Queen campaign, they added this tiny little lore entry that was like, oh, there's this hidden city called Nepheli Stronghold, and there's no records about it. And Rasputin's wiped the records, which is, I'm going to keep explaining stuff for
you don't need to go that
Rasputin's
deep.
like super AI technology, protector of the universe on AI side. Didn't know about it, and I think this could be Nepheli Stronghold, and maybe that's why no one found it. And they very much likely have nanotechnology that's better than Siva, which explains why their civilization is so sort of advanced. I think they're probably going to have to do something like that to explain how this like super advanced civilization has been running parallel to humanity without us knowing.
Yeah, cool. I mean, from a very superficial level, seeing Witch Queen, I think Witch Queen was beautiful, but it was the Hive kind of like skin to Destiny.
Yeah,
is not my favorite. And seeing a huge amount of color injected in their next big expansion is really, really exciting for me.
Yeah, and I
was
think
going to say, as well, on the superficial level, as someone who, obviously, Mylan, if you explain, like, there's all that lore there in terms of how this is going to relate to all the previous chapters. Pete, you're talking about, like, on just, like, from a gameplay stance as well, I want to know what you think of that. But, like, for me, just seeing this as someone who dabbled in Destiny and comes in and out from time to time and was, like, intrigued by Witch Queen, but probably not, like, captured by the visuals and the fun of it. This looks like they've definitely, as you said, you know, there's cyberpunk themes, but, you know, it's not just cyberpunk. It's got color and a bit of this like fun, crazy personality. It's definitely got its hooks in for me to be like, okay, this might be the one that I might step in on and actually kind of like sink my teeth back into Destiny in a big way. Is that like, do you think the goal with what they're going for here?
And I think like when you look at something like a Livefall, you see that it just opens the possibility to do anything that they've actually. But I honestly, when I saw the trailer, I was like, "This is not even in our system. Then this is not in like our soul system. Like Earth, everything's been destroyed. They've just gone. You know what? We've like traveled somewhere else. This is like a new city, new place. You know, it is Neptune, and it's been hidden. But yeah, I think it opens the door for new enemies, new enemy types, and obviously completely different environments, which is sort of what they spoke about on the showcase. Is like you've been to the swamps in Witch Queen, right?
Anything to step up from a swamp.
Now go to the arcade machines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they're obviously adding like a new ways of traversing too with the new ability Strand.
Yeah,
which gives you essentially a grapple hook. Like every class,
you've got a Strand game.
You got yourself
a grapple
hook. Kojima Strand game. That I mean, that's wild. I think it's a testament to, because grapples are like the tool of modern first-person gaming. Halo Infinite's grapple is amazing. The fact that Destiny has proven how good, or Bungie have proven how good they are at this live service thing by being so in line with modern gaming trends with a game that is now this old. It's I don't think necessarily they saw it in Halo Infinite. They were just aware of movement being such an important part of Destiny. What's the next way we can elevate movement in this game? We're going to put a grappling hook in there. It looks amazing. I'm interested to see how it breaks a bunch of other content.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the fun of it as well. And I think if everyone's okay with that, I think Bungie's okay with that. So that'll be cool to see. The lore stuff is exciting to me, but I am really, really excited about traversing this city and kind of the new game feel that these new movement abilities give us.
Can you explain how they're integrating the strand ability and the grapple? Is that's obviously not class based? It's just something that everyone's getting now.
It is class based.
Oh, it is.
So it's the darkness subclass. You're going to have to select it. Originally, the grapple hook was meant to be just for hunters, but they decided that it was just way too fun, and so every class is going to get the grapple. They all have their own unique supers, though. So I think the hunter has a rope dart. The Titan has these like claws that uses strand, and they do like a Beyblade let it rip spin, and the warlock summons like strand missiles that sort of deconstruct enemies and destroys them essentially. And they basically said that the strand is, even though it's a darkness subclass, no one's ever discovered it before, so it's a little bit different narratively than other subclasses that have been introduced. They made it like very specific that we're the first to discover and first to use it, and we're sort of working it out as we go along. And it is about essentially like this matrix that exists that connects everything together, and that's what you're like understanding. You're like seeing into the matrix and pulling strand to manipulate it. That's why you can grapple hook to any point in time. You don't have to like grapple hook onto like an anchor or a building. You just grapple hook in midair.
Yeah,
and that's because this strand like exists
interdimensional.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Do you feel like it was because they didn't want to, the devs and the artists didn't want to make another dimension, so they're just like, let's just leave the vector lines up?
Yeah. Pull on that.
We're working too hard on this city, so the other world can be black and green.
Just put the overlay on. It's exciting though. It's pretty cool.
Totally. I mean, what Stasis did for the game in PvE, I think, was brilliant. I don't think Destiny's PvP is worth the time of day anyway, but Stasis infuriated me in PvP, and Strand I think will have a similar effect in there's nothing worse to me than being in a first person shooter and losing control by being frozen or by being strand constricted. While I think it's going to be really, really cool for PvE, do you have a different opinion on how it's going to play out in PvP? Or
well, when I first saw the grapple hooks, I just thought, okay, I guess they're like rebuilding all the PvP maps. That being said, it could go the other way. Maybe it's going to bring a freshness to the PvP maps because you can run grapple hook and because you can get different angles, and maybe it will freshen those up. I think it will make the strikes fresh again because you're just going to be able to, depending on how the perk works, you'd be able to like speedrun strikes with a different level than you could before, which might make it a bit fresher. I'm interested to see how PvP goes because it is going to add another movement ability in PvP that I think people that are really into PvP might actually enjoy, as long as it's, I don't know, balance, however you balance it. But I think we'll probably be seeing like montages of people swinging off edges or doing crazy stuff to push points and hitting shots, hopefully.
Yep.
It's wild watching any form of like extra traversal given to games, watching players completely either exploit or break it, or as you mentioned, Pete, like you find ways to use it in which the developers never really intended. I know that a big part of Destiny is doing those strikes, and a lot of it, talking to you guys, Pete, specifically you and Steph, like doing a lot of those like a lot of the sort of platforming puzzles and stuff, which I don't think if you glanced at Destiny, if you were fresh to the game, you would think that plays as much of a part in the game as it actually does. Do you think adding the grapple in there, as you said, is something that's going to add to that side of the gameplay, to those those puzzle elements to the game, which actually are quite large? Or do you think it's something that's less important compared to like the combat and the enemy types and that sort of stuff?
It's going to be interesting from a design perspective because, I ran a vow last night, and the jumping puzzles in that, I was like, if I had a grappling hook, this would not be a challenge at all. But are they going to just design around the concept? I think they will for the new content, but are they just going to design around the concept that you have to be on that subclass for the jumping puzzles? I don't know. I don't know that they will do that because it's so kind of restrictive, and
it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Like if they design around the verticality of having a grapple hook, well then if you have PvP maps that incorporate that, well then it's going to force everybody to use that subclass.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like you can do that anyway in PvP maps.
Yeah.
But you can't not have a PvP map and not consider people are going to have grapple hook, which is why Destiny's so hard to make stuff for. And it's the same for raids, I guess, too. Like all the jumping puzzles. I don't think they ever want it to be a requirement to equip a certain thing. However, it sort of already is when it comes to jumping puzzles. Like if you're a hunter, you bang on stompies.
Yeah.
If you're a Titan, you put on your line rampant. So I imagine jumping puzzles are going to be like, for this section, we're probably going to equip a grapple hook.
Yeah. If you're a warlock, you don't need to equip anything because you got the best jump. So you just keep cruising through.
Yeah, best jump to your death. Yeah.
So that was the Lightfall expansion, but there was other announcements in terms of the. Did you want to touch on the?
Yeah, we should quickly touch on this season, and of course,
season 18. I think it's up to.
There's a couple other announcements too, actually, in the Lightfall thing about like in-game LFG, loadouts, and mod managers. If you want to.
Yeah, a lot of the cool API stuff that other people have been managing, third parties have been managing, kind of getting pulled into the game to help. Which, give me a fucking alphabetical sorting order for my shaders. Give me anything. God damn it.
Yeah.
But some quality of life stuff coming as well, which will be exciting to see.
And they also said no sunsetting, so all their major expansions are no longer going to be sunset. So
they sunset the sunsetting.
They sunset the sunsetting.
Yep.
Correct.
Fascinating. Confusing as hell. But right. That's huge.
That's pretty big.
Yep.
That's pretty big.
Yep.
They want to keep the continuity. They said they're working on game engine updates, developments to basically keep expansions forever. They're going to be in the game. That's going to be what Destiny 2 is. So you can go back and play major expansions, but the seasons will change. So like the mini.
Naive to ask, is that going to blow out?
Stop in the seasons.
Was part of it the install size, like what that actually did? For
I have no idea how they're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get some serious bloat. It's going to become Call of Duty Modern Warfare
Call of Duty
install.
Good luck having both those games installed on the console. It's not happening.
I'm just waiting for the Destiny 2 hard drive to be released, like Sony Destiny 2 SSD.
Comes pre-installed.
Pre-installed, all the things on it.
Smoth in chat says there's an easy fix. It's just don't release more content.
Very easy.
Just leave it there. We're done.
Briefly, the Fortnite crossover that they moved to. Was it no more than like some skins and some character models, or what were we looking at in Fortnite?
In Fortnite, you have some skins, but they also made one of the PvP maps that like you can actually play in Fortnite as a like team deathmatch or capture a control zone essentially. So Jav 4 was put into Fortnite with the skins, and some Fortnite skins were put into Destiny.
Yeah, I in a stop down in our raid on the weekend, I bought the cat face. I'm now a cat.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Destiny.
That's fine. In Destiny,
right? I'm a cat.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, what are the Fortnite skins they put into Destiny? Like,
I think it's the OG ones, right? Like the really like season 1 Fortnite skins. Yeah. Like the knights, the cat, and something else.
Yep.
Knight and the
cat. As part of that thing, I think the more exciting news was because it's on Epic Games, if you download it on Epic Games, they give you the 30th anniversary for free forever.
Yep.
Which is the Grasp of Avarice dungeon, you Galahorn. I can't remember what else was in there. You got some armor pieces and that too. So that's a big win if you don't have Destiny or didn't get the 30th anniversary.
It's a pretty good buy-in.
Yeah. It was funny. I saw my Twitch chat going, ew, Epic Games, and everyone's like, okay, it's okay.
We get free stuff. It's fine. I'll go.
We get free stuff. That's fine. Yeah.
And then there was, just talking about the Season of Plunder was the other bit of information which kind of piqued my interest because, a big part about the Lightfall just looked like, aesthetically, I was like, okay, I'm on board. This looks sick. This looks amazing. And that those abilities are cool. But this is the current or the next season, which has gone Pirates? Full pirate. Is that full pirate? Is that something that Destiny should be doing, or is it just following a trend now? A little too late.
It's a very fun, lighthearted season so far.
Yeah.
Like there's not.
Yeah.
Last season was very like serious story wise. It was like a lot of character development. This season's like, hey, pirates.
A lot of puns and names and stuff as well. Like they're being quite playful with it, and I think you have to, because if they tried to pretend that this was a really serious part of what Destiny was becoming, then I don't think people would take it that well. But it's like, it's just go and have fun, ship to ship combat. And by that I mean you fight on one ship and then you cannon yourself across to the other one and keep fighting. It's pretty cool.
I'm completely fine with some seasons being a little bit silly or a little bit more lighthearted or than other seasons, and this season has actually got like a pretty good character roster for some good story, like Mithrax, the Drifter, Ido Kel. So I'm interested to see if it picks up a bit more than just like pirates. They revived Eramis, which was the villain from Beyond Light expansion. So this should be something a bit bigger in there towards the end of the season, I think.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty classic Destiny season. It's nothing like surprising from it. It's your seasonal activities and
give us a week and we'll be over those seasonal activities.
Tune in each week for the story, which is what I usually do, to be honest.
Yep.
Fair enough.
And I mean, we could talk about Destiny forever, but let's quickly touch on how you went on Saturday with your King's Fall run.
Yes, contest mode. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Got through totems. They added more mechanics since Destiny 1, which really, like, there were times we were on like 0 seconds and we just happened to like complete something or transfer a buff or whatever.
Yeah.
War Priest was the second encounter, which really hurt us, both on ammo economy and just like the timing is, you needed a pretty perfect run to get past War Priest, which I really enjoy. I'm a big advocate for them releasing contest mode all the time so you can like practice this stuff with your team, because there's not really any other content like contest mode in raids that is just that hard.
Yeah. Master's not the same, man.
Master's not the same, and GMs are different as well. And I'm going to keep shouting, please give contest mode. Like,
I feel like it's got to happen. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
How about that damage check on the War Priest?
I saw you tweet about it, Matt, as well, and it's like it really is an ammo economy thing, and you got to have your what are they called? What are Aeons on?
Yeah. So that, I don't know. I would like Bungie to like maybe talk about the ammo economy and whether, if they want it always to be about someone running Aeons and doing finishes to make ammo as part of the challenge, then fair enough. I would probably change like how I see contest mode, but I feel like the way it is at the moment, you have to have such coordination with the mechanics as it is. It does feel a bit cheap when you get to like the last phase and you're down to primaries or something.
Yeah.
You're like, you would have got it if you had the ammo, but if the expectation is you need to be producing ammo for your team, then fine. But I also think when you start doing stuff like that, you end up with all these restrictions. Like, we need 2 warlocks to run well. We need 1 person on Aeons. We need 1 person on Div. And eventually you get to a mode that's quite restrictive. And so you kill some of your build craft in the end. So I just think it's a bit of balance there.
Yeah. Because I think there is absolutely like, you need people on your raid team who are going to be able to read the situation and go, oh, we're going to need Aeons, or Div is the play, or if everyone's got Touch of Malice, it's just do Touch of Malice. Because apparently it's higher damage than LFRs at the moment.
Right.
It's crazy. But I like that part of the raid of going like, and I'm not this person, but having someone on the raid team going like, if we're going to do this, we've done a couple of runs, and if we're going to do this, we're going to need to change things up in these ways. We can't just be like, stubborn about this build that I like and is working in these ways. Change it up. It's going to break other parts of the encounter, but it's going to be right for what we need to finish. So I like that, but I do totally hear the problem of like it coming down solely to just the ammo economy just wasn't there, or we just didn't get the RNG to have enough heavy drops. And that's what cost us. Like
one run, I had like 5 heavy bricks drop on the like first group of ads. I'm like,
we're golden.
I'm fine now. Like, we're fine. Yeah.
Destiny.
So was it fun?
Yeah, it's good. I like the raid. I didn't do it in D1. How did you feel coming back to the changes of it?
Oh, the change is really good because I did a quick playthrough in like booted up the Xbox. My PlayStation wouldn't turn on, so I had to play on my Xbox. I actually did a D1 raid like a week before it came out, and it was actually quite easy if you look at the progression of raids in Destiny, how complex they've become, with how many things you sort of got to be juggling mentally whilst executing something. Like Kingsfall was a walk in the park, so I'm glad that they bumped up the mechanics for it for sure.
Yeah,
and obviously the rebuild, like it looks beautiful. I think there were a fair few bugs in it, but I didn't get past War Priest to experience that, so I didn't really see any. But it's a good looking raid for it, especially lighting wise. If you go back and play D1, it is very dark, and the lighting looks absolutely amazing, and the soundtrack and the backing tracks are pretty nice too.
Yeah. I had a good time.
Did you, Pete? You were streaming for collectively.
Yeah, we got our clear after 15 hours or something, and then we went back and did the first challenge, and that took us another 2 hours. And it's like, okay, fuck this.
That's the wildest part about ever watching you do raids as well. It's like you torture yourselves all the way up to the point that you finish it, and the second you're done, you're like, cool, now we know what it is, let's do it again. I'm like, I couldn't think of anything worse, like after the amount of time you sink into that and the amount of like sleep you don't have, and then you're like, let's go back, we know what we're doing.
But did it again last night, and it's like, it's a 90-minute clear now, and there's always that like joy of it being like easy, but then I want contest mode back for if I want to do that, if I want the option.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I love the challenge of it, of contest mode.
Destiny.
Gluttons for punishment.
Destiny. It's back.
Yeah, contest mode's like making it Dark Souls, it's that like, oh dude, I want to get that challenge now. Like now I sort of want to get the perfect build for the perfect encounter and like have everything go right. It feels really good.
Spank me daddy Destiny.
Uh-huh.
Let's move on to some color.
Well, let's do that. The other big thing that happened last week was, of course, Gamescom in Cologne. We had a heap of announcements from that, so we thought we might just go through a bunch of the announcements that were on. I think most of them were opening night, the Jeff Keighley extravaganza, and so we've got a heap of trailers here and a bunch of games that got announced. And we'll just sort of go through a hot and cold on how we're all feeling about them. I think the big one that I want to kick things off with, which was Dead Island 2 is back alive and kicking after, I think, the original trailer was in like 2014, which was this amazing announcement trailer for Dead Island 2, which then just totally was cancelled. It was the development ceased on that one, and it's gone dark. And then now we've seen a new trailer bringing it back to what looks like, I think it was kind of like an LA.
It's definitely the hills. Hollywood Hills. The
Hollywood Hills. And we got a majority of what we saw at Gamescom were all pre-rendered CG cutscenes. But credit to them, like, this is a fantastic trailer that I thought was great. I mean, it didn't have the same punch as the original. If anyone remembers that first Dead Island trailer with the family in the hotel room and the heartstrings and everything being tugged. But this looked fun, and I'm so fatigued by zombies, but Dead Island was one of the really fun ones right at the start. I don't know if either of you guys were big fans of that. I know, Pete, we played a bit of Dead Island 1, but if you're keen to get back into some zombie smash.
Yeah, so this is where you're going to have to sell other games to me now because I've just been living and breathing Destiny.
Yep.
What is the draw between like something like Dead Island and Dying Light? Because we had Dying Light 2, wasn't that recently?
We just had Dying Light recently, and I would say they're almost like Dying Light was almost sort of, there might have been some developer crossover, I'm not 100% sure, but it was kind of a spiritual
Techland,
successor.
I think they both did the first one.
It was Techland moving on to it. The original Dead Island was super heavy on melee focused combat, which first person melee combat is awkward at the best of times, and they did their best with that. And then there was a couple of there's Dead Island Riptide. It's cooperative, 4-player, open world, and it had a cool kind of weapon crafting system to it all. So it was pretty. I found it very. It was innovative for what it was doing for zombies because they weren't being absolutely flogged to death yet. And then Dying Light comes out and adds parkour to it, and everyone's like, "Whoa, this is great!" So that's the movement was huge. Then Dead Island 2 gets announced. Then gets dropped, and then Dying Light 2 gets announced, and then gets perpetually delayed until earlier this year. Earlier this year. And by that point, people have kind of blended. You're totally right, though, Matt, that like people have gotten a bit confused between the two titles. So I think this is the thing they're going to try and do here is go back to the fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's more co-op based than Dying Light, or they're both co-op, aren't they?
I think Dying Light was only 2-player co-op from memory. I played a little bit of it as just a 2-player. I might be wrong there, but Dead Island was definitely the 4 of you. And
right,
Techland make great games, but they definitely they forego some of the polish just to put the fun in there. And I think we had a heap of fun playing Dead Island 1 because of so many little like glitchy things that would happen during cutscenes and how people would wig out in the background. And again, first-person melee combat is hard to get right for your perspective, let alone when you're watching friends do it, like in 4-player co-op. It just gets really, really like messy. Yeah. So, but I think that's heaps of fun, and people were stoked to hear that this is back to life, I think.
Nice.
I know I am.
Yeah, I'm keen to check it out. And they closed the show with it, so they considered it their like clincher. It was the big hit that they closed it with. So it still exists. Exciting to see.
It's still not as good as the first Dying Light 2. Dead Island 2 trailer, the jogger, the guy running down. It's so fucking confusing. Yeah. But go back and watch the Dead Island 2 trailer initially from 2014. It's fantastic. I hope there's still some of that game in it. So we'll see.
Well, looks like
interesting, as you say, it'd be interesting to see how it performs with like the current landscape of zombies. You know, we've just had Back for Blood, Dying Light 2. So it's, probably got to bring something a bit different to...
We're in a post-zombie era of game releases.
Yeah.
It needs to do something to catch our attention again.
Yeah, I agree.
Dune. That's a big IP. Gus, you played the kind of like strategy game, but this is an action Dune title. Dune Awakening.
Well, it's being touted as I think people got really excited seeing just the Dune IP.
Yeah.
I totally did. And
MMO.
I did play Dune Spice Wars, which was the 4X Dune game recently, which is definitely not in my wheelhouse, but I gave it a shot because I just love the Dune IP. And so I'm like, okay, I'm kind of open. I'm ready for an action game. But I believe this is being sold as possibly a bit of a battle royale. A survival...
Really?
Yeah. I think it's a survival game set in the Dune universe, and I think an element of that has been hinted at some form of arena battler. So I don't know if that's what I want.
It puts MMO on the end of this trailer, but I guess MMO just means massively multiplayer online, and the concept of that has been stretched out to other genres. Battle Royale kind of is an MMO if there's 100 people trying to kill each other.
Zcraze says, survival MMO. Yeah. So whatever you want to call that, I think because calling anything a battle royale is like dangerous now. Like you will have a knee-jerk reaction from the public, and so to call it an MMO survival game, I'm bloody intrigued. Don't get me wrong.
It's survival stuff like MMO survival that does intrigue me. I'm a big fan of games like Escape from Tarkov, which has like elements of like versing players and environment and an overall like loot stash where you go and risk loot and bring loot back to your thing in survival sort of that way, or having to manage water and food, but still versing players. So if it's just some sort of spin on that, I'll be interested for sure.
Yeah, I think that totally lends itself to the Dune IP, all that kind of gameplay. So
have a little hub world and then go out into the desert. Get stuff.
Compared to your Rusts and your Tarkovs and all that, going back to your base and going through your inventory and going through different types of sand, being like, I've got this coarse sand, and I've got this, I can construct with this rough sand and a little bit of spice here. It's like it's just opening a cellar, like a larder full of spices,
and you can make yourself a bedside table.
It's all just like you got 3 items: just water, sand,
and spice.
Rock.
And be like,
I won't make your base. Sorry, start again.
No, you're totally right, Matt. I think like they're getting smarter, or like they're adding more complexity to that survival kind of online game. Which I think, if they're smart about it and they implement a lot of the stuff that people love in the lore, be the worms and the spice and all that, like it does lend itself to a lot of things that could work for a video game or be exploited in a video game way.
The Dune universe is like huge, right? Like how many books are there? There's like 8 books or something or more. Oh, there's heaps. I think it's more than that.
That's like 5 more than you've written or that worked on.
Must be a lot of lore in there.
You're right. And I think the only weird thing about it is that the fact that Dune is famously a political kind of like the struggles come from the houses and the dealings that go on.
It was the original trade negotiation science fiction.
It was.
And Lucas came along with his prequels.
You're right about one thing, Peter. The negotiations were boring.
22 books, chat says.
That's too many.
Okay.
It's too many. That's too many.
22.
Why is Pinocchio huge? Why is Pinocchio back?
Why is Pinocchio getting a Bloodborne spin-off? I think is the real question here.
I've not seen this.
We saw some gameplay for, I keep wanting to say Life of P, but it's not that. It's
because it was Life of Pi. This is Lies of P. P being Pinocchio, we assume.
Wait, is that what it's called? Lies of P. Lies of Pinocchio.
Yep.
Lies of Pinocchio.
This strikes me, and I know Jess is in chat, is like, my first impression of it was, this is kind of like a modern Alice. This is an action RPG level
the American
based.
McGee Alice game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's got like a really dark twist on a classic kind of children's story, which, they have dark themes in them that just weren't present when we were kids. But this looks really cool. It is a Soulsy style action combat by the look of it, but in I guess a more fully fleshed out world for the player, where I feel like From Software games are really kind of like pared back in terms of what they deliver to you, the player, in terms of world building.
So where's Pinocchio? I'm not seeing Pinocchio yet. Is Pinocchio in the game?
This is Pinocchio. He's a real boy.
This is P,
Oh, you play as Pinocchio as a real boy.
Yeah, you've got like an augmented arm, and I think, there's like any retelling of a dark, twisted fantasy, it's like it'll be some spin on the idea that he's come to life, or he has to keep his essence alive while...
Right, okay.
And because it's called Lies of P, to get your, like, every time you lie, your nose goes... And then you use that to fight other characters.
I was going to say, if you don't kill the final boss you're in like this grapple up against each other, and you just start lying at him, and your nose...
and it just goes...
like skull. Then it's
like a Mortal Kombat finisher.
Absolutely. What a wasted opportunity to make this game. Lie to me.
Totally. But you're right. There's currently we've got a Disney remake of Pinocchio, a live action remake, which has gone completely like shot for shot, like the old cartoon. And then we've got Benicio del Toro doing a dark, slightly more twisted film, which are both coming out very close to each other.
Yeah, I think Del Toro is going to beat him. I think he's at just before the Disney one.
I hope it beats it, because the Disney one, I hate these remakes. But this, this is just like, fuck it, let's go Bloodborne with Pinocchio, which looks amazing, like dark fantasy, and in terms of a twisted story, Pinocchio's pretty fucked up. So Yeah, there's lots to
Give
play
me like
with there.
Bioshock vibes too.
Totally.
Like steampunk Bioshock mixed with Pinocchio and Dark Souls.
Well, Matt, you mentioned the Dark Souls difficulty. Are you a big From Software fan, or do you have time to play any of the Souls games?
Yeah, I discovered them later in my gaming life. Mainly because I think they make excellent stream content. I think there's something just so intriguing and replayable about watching someone experience a From Software game. And that's sort of what got me into them. I don't know if I'd actually play them off stream just for fun, but I think they are extremely fun when you have an audience cheering for you / backseating /
sharing the pain,
doing whatever. Yeah. And it is. So yeah, I am a fan, and I'm compelled to play those games by the challenge. I really enjoy the challenge.
Do you have a pick or a fave out of the majority of the From ones?
Actually, Bloodborne is probably my favorite. I actually made, when I started my YouTube channel, I made a series about Bloodborne lore and a series about Destiny lore. And Bloodborne didn't get very many views, and Destiny did, and that is why I have a Destiny channel. If Bloodborne got views, I probably would be a Bloodborne From Software lore channel.
Amazing.
You'd be a Vardy.
You'd be fighting as Vardy, yeah.
Exactly.
Can't have two Aussies in the same space.
The Aussies dominating it.
And you're not, I mean this as a compliment, you're not softly spoken enough. You've just got too much of a energy in your voice. You need that real soft Bloodborne or From Software.
I just picked up the tome of Wandering, and
but whose blood is it? And where does it come from? And why is it Bloodborne? There you go.
Amazing chest.
Find out next in the next 2 hours.
I'm such a big fan of Vardy. Yeah, exactly.
Love Vardy.
I'm such a big fan of Vardy video stuff, so we are not ripping on it.
I still have nightmares when I was doing the Bloodborne lore series because I had to get footage, and every time I was trying to make a video on whatever boss, and it was always just dog shit footage, and I was like,
oh man,
everyone's gonna be in the comments, why are you so bad at the game?
Did IGN play this?
Yeah,
half the props that go to YouTubers like Vardy Video and stuff is getting footage of specific areas in games. I know they use a lot of back end tools and stuff, but it's you can't just go I'll get a bit of footage in that area. It's like, how the fuck do I get to that area? How the hell do I get there? And not die on my run there?
It happened once, so I better start my 100-hour playthrough again and make sure I'm recording this very specific sentence that some NPC said at midnight on a Wednesday.
Totally. Well, make a lore video about Liza P. We'll see how it goes.
I'm just going to power. I'm going to power through some of the stuff. Stop me if you find it interesting, but I'll just kind of quickly detail what was announced. Park Beyond is a modern kind of roller coaster tycoon park sim, which looks pretty fun. You kind of design in kind of a bigger world, kind of really playful things like shooting people out of cannons. So a little more surreal.
It's the Tropico devs, so it does look very similar to the last roller coaster.
Planet Coaster
game was amazing.
Yeah.
Planet Coaster was amazing. I feel like they might struggle to compete against how perfect that game was, but it was fun.
Yeah, it looks like it's a little more stupid than Planet Coaster, which could appeal to some people for sure. There's new Tales from the Borderlands. Which Tales from the Borderlands was kind of one of Telltale's stronger series. So we're getting another little dive back into the Tales from the Borderlands, which Randy Pitchford was there. Good on him. And so that'll excite some people. I'm not sure what characters this is about.
I know nothing about this.
Yes.
Is this the same as Borderlands, or is this a different spin-off?
It's by Telltale, the people that made The Walking Dead, kind of
it's Telltale Borderlands. Yep. Okay, got it.
Yep. And as Pete said, it was one of the better ones that they did. That was because it was right at the sort of surge of them taking every IP and making everything
they got so popular real quick.
Telltale game, and they was quite hit and miss, and everyone was like, I think you were just nailing it with. I mean, the Wolf Among Us was great, but people love this, and it shouldn't have worked as well as it did, I think.
Speaking of Telltale being attached to everything, it's happening again, because they're also making a Telltale series based around The Expanse, which is obviously a really deep series of books. Has become a television show quite successfully. And this is kind of a little bit different of a Telltale game in that it's a much more kind of realized 3D space that you're moving around and you're encountering story as you run into it on this kind of abandoned space station.
Okay.
think it lends itself well to the themes of the Expanse or Leviathan Wakes. So I'm really keen to check this one out. Wyro Song. I don't know how to pronounce this one, but it's got Obsidian devs behind it. So as soon as you see Obsidian, you go, okay, interesting. Something Wicked Games is the studio that's developing this one. And this is a really, really quick trailer, but it is just the promise of something RPG, light versus dark, really classic storytelling with Obsidian team behind it.
Okay.
Gonna be pretty cool, I think.
I have no idea what it is. So
yeah, I don't.
What's the trailer?
I don't either. I don't either. There's nothing in the trailer except we made cool things. We're making a new thing. The Lords of the Fallen.
This is confusing AF because Lords of the Fallen was a really great sort of contender in the Soulsborne kind of games. And I remember playing it and really enjoying it. It had like really, really hefty, solid combat. But now this is a sequel called The Lords of the Fallen. Yeah, they've just added the on the
different
top of it
development
as a way
team.
to different team. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So
looks pretty epic.
It looks epic.
Is it a straight and sequel, or is it like trying to be some kind of like prequely retelling or something?
Yeah, I can't say for sure.
And again, we only got to see this, which is all pre-rendered stuff, but
early days.
But it was a good game, and now there's the. And you can wish list.
So the original was that like you said, was it Dark Souls-y? Was it third person?
Yeah, it was Soulsy third person combat, very heavy sort of what you're seeing here, that like kind of like medieval fantasy. But I mean, it had a little bit of a spin on the whole like Souls reclaiming power up kind of stuff that I can't remember, but it had really good hefty melee combat. It was kind of more For Honor-esque kind of combat, it felt like. So
yeah, a little more like a little more arcadey, not as not as brutal.
And was there RPG elements to it as well, like stats and all that?
Yeah, totally, yeah. So, but it was kind of a sleeper. So maybe they're just trying to kind of recapture the magic of the first one again, just with a bigger.
Well, I believe it was being developed under the title Lords of the Fallen 2, and now they're considering it a reboot. So they've dropped the kind of sequel concept, and they're going, well, let's start again, because I don't know that Lords of the Fallen original sold particularly well. It was kind of just like a little sleeper game. So
totally.
Okay. Moving Out, in a very similar vein, is getting a sequel. Did you play Moving Out, Matt?
No.
I
played that in real life. I didn't feel like I needed it anymore.
Yeah, totally. But it was a really cute little cooperative kind of like what's the cooking one? Overcooked style.
Overcooked. Yep.
Cooperative chaos. And the sequel is adding online multiplayer and a whole bunch of other stuff. So apparently,
the original didn't have on. Oh, did it? No, it must have had online. I think
that it did. It definitely was touted
I remember
in the
seeing
trailers being like a big feature.
It was a well streamed game, and it's SMG Studio, who are a Sydney based devs. So so awesome. I think it did particularly well, considering there were a lot of overcooked clones. I think this one had a really good spin on it, and so best of luck to them.
Aussie devs are kicking goals at the moment.
My God.
Oh man, yeah. Become a fart. What was that?
Hang on, I'll go back.
That was just the last bit. You're like, Aussie devs are kicking goals, and then the last thing that popped up on the screen was just like, you were toasted.
Oh yeah, Become a Fart. FART. That's the that was the moving company, I think.
Become a fart.
Yeah, Become a Fart. Aussie devs. Doing it justice. Good work.
Yeah, they enjoyed it. Yeah.
Under the Waves is, I mean, you talk about BioShock. This is basically like super serious Subnautica, I think.
Ooh.
Ocean
scares me.
I know.
It can be a great environment for jump scares.
Yeah. It's not a horror game, but
it's a bit more narrative focused by the looks of it.
Right.
But being deep underwater is horrific in its own right. So it's horror.
So is it just a first person story?
Yeah, story kind of. Yeah. It's Dear Esther, Deep Below the Ocean.
Right. Okay.
Deep Esther.
Deep Esther. Lovely.
It looks cool though. It looks beautiful, and like
Yeah.
art direction that looks amazing. So
Again,
looks like
didn't see
a
much.
one and done kind of play. Hopefully, like maybe 2 sessions and you played through the whole thing.
Yep.
You enjoyed it, which I'm always a fan of.
Yep. Here's a really interesting one: Moonbreaker, and Brandon Sanderson is front and center. It's kind of his idea, his concept, and it is a tabletop game realized in a 3D engine, and it looks super cool. Really funky design, a kind of strategy versus tabletop game, and it's going to be basically like a XCOM-y kind of tactical RPG, but you get to paint the figures.
This is sort of appealing to me.
Yeah.
I totally agree as well. It's such a little like add-on feature that they're like these great little figurines. There's no animation; they're just figurines that bounce around a table. But that's actually delightful. And then to have this really intricate,
it
like,
shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to paint them all, it's clearly something that people love doing with miniatures IRL. And so I love seeing any game that takes battle chess, that takes any of those little figures and makes them sort of kind of come to life without overdoing it. There was a VR game, I forget the name of it, that was like a tabletop game where you could like in VR go down and move each little piece and play a dungeon crawler. And so this looks great. And this is, Pete, remind me, so he's an author of the fantasy,
like
what's the
I think
book?
Mistborn and stuff. He's very prolific. I haven't read
One of my wife's favorite authors.
Yeah.
I have to tell her about this.
Yeah.
There you go.
But definitely like really charming, a lot of color, a lot of character, and a really cool concept.
I heard a lot of people drawing comparisons or just sort of links to Hearthstone, whether or not that's just because the color and the look of it, but whether or not it's that like XCOM-y Hearthstone, you've got a team of heroes, not card-based obviously, and you're just kind of like, you're duking it out in a little arena.
So
I can seen
online as well. Like, can you build your team, build your miniatures, and verse other people?
I'm sure.
don't know yet.
I'm sure that would be the case.
Be.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be the case.
Yeah.
It's just something so charming watching a figurine fire a gun and then like rock backwards on that little platform and just like bounce around. It's delightful. So I'm keen.
Quickly, the last couple of things. Stranded: Alien Dawn has a really great CG trailer. And it's one of these classic ones where you're like, oh, okay, crash land, we're an advanced civilization, we're being reset, and then the last 5 seconds is footage of a very basic looking top-down kind of farm simulator. So that disappointed
They've really blew
a lot
the
of
budget
people
on that cutscene.
Yeah, totally. But could still be something that people are interested in. And Atlas Falling World, not me. Atlas Falling World kind of looks like the game that Sony keep touting that no one wants.
Forspoken?
Yeah, Forspoken, but good.
Yeah. No, well, this again, I saw a few people either write up about this or talk about it. This one might actually be another arena brawler. Maybe I'm mixing it up with this one, but I think it's it's again going with the desert landscape of sand powers.
Yep.
Looks like sand is the new apocalyptic kind of like cool environment. Forget like regular lush forest fantasy. It's like it has to be a desert now. But yeah, like all of these, it's a full CG cutscene, so I don't know how the game's going to look or play. Oh no, there was some gameplay.
Another little taste at the end, yeah.
Okay, third-person brawler, crazy big powers, sand surfing. I'm in.
Yeah.
Sand surfing.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Like Monster Hunter or something.
It did have some vibes like that. Petey, you skipped over Killer Clowns from Outer Space. What's wrong with you?
Oh, I didn't pull it in, sorry.
No, it's fine. There was a survival horror trailer for Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which is like a 1980s horror film, and so it's gone very hard on the what do you call it? The like what's
Lightfall.
Everyone's playing with like the monsters from movies, and there's the teenagers trying to get away from them.
It.
No, the game.
Oh,
Peter,
Dead by Daylight.
Come on. Dead by Daylight. I was like Dying Light, dying zombie, dying something.
Dead on, Dying Light.
Dead on, dying something or other. Yeah, so this is, looks like a new entry into that arena. Evil Dead did it as well. So
right, like an asymmetrical, what do they call them? Asymmetrical
I believe so, yeah.
PvP.
Yeah. I think it'll be these clowns, which are terrifying. If you ever see the film, I saw it as a kid. It really messed me up. And then, I think, play as these like teenagers running away from horrifying clowns. So looks like it could be terrible, and I'm definitely going to play it.
Yeah. You're across the film, right? You saw the film?
Yes. Yeah. As I said, it's haunted me from a young age, so I'm doing well there.
There you go.
So that was a heap of games that were announced at Gamescom. A lot of them as we said, pre-rendered trailers, but some interesting titles, some diverse titles, and something for all of us, I'm sure, at some point. That's all the news for this week, or for last week, I should say. And so we'll probably move on because there's nothing else that you need to know for now.